Today we got a 2025 season preview for the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Stick around and enjoy. Welcome on in, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another season preview coming your way today. It's the 2025 season preview of the North Melbourne Kangaroos. How are they going to go this year? We're going to delve right into all of that in this episode. So stick around. We're going to be looking at how they've gone the previous few years, which, spoiler alert, not great. We're going to look at their depth chart. We're going to have a look at their best 22. Have a look at their schedule. We'll have a look where we think the Kangaroos are going to win and lose this year. So that's all coming your way today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. About 90% of my viewer watch time is by people that aren't subscribed. So hit that subscribe button. If you're watching it and enjoying it, hit that button. We're bringing content to you every day at the moment. Once the season starts, I might tone back a little bit. We'll see what happens. But without wasting any more time, let's jump into the Kangaroos. We're doing these for every club. We're past the halfway mark. There's only about 8 to go. So, definitely make sure you stick around and go check out all the other teams that we've done so far. Kangaroos in 2024 finished 17th on the ladder. Just the 3 wins with 20 losses. Another disappointing season for them. They started really slow. Took them a while to get that first win. They eventually got there. They looked like they were going to get a couple extras. They lost a couple nail-biters in the end. It was overall an okay season without really showing too much development. If we look at their previous 5 years, it's much of the same across the board. So 2020 was a shortened season, obviously. They finished 17th on the ladder, 3 wins, 14 losses. Then they got back-to-back wooden spoons in 21 and 22 with 4 wins, 17 losses and a draw in 2021. And then just 2 wins and 20 losses in 2022. Followed that up in 2023, going 3 and 20 and finishing 17th on the ladder. And then in 2024, once again, exact same record, 17th on the ladder, 3 and 20. So just 8 wins and 60 losses in the last 3 seasons alone. And it doesn't get much better if you go back the previous couple of years before that as well. So it's been a rough patch for the Kangaroos. There's no doubt about it. The last 5 or so years have been a really, really rough period. Not getting off the bottom 2 any of those last 5 years. Obviously, their best record in that time, most amount of wins in a season is 4.5 in that time. It's a really bleak period. There's no doubt about it. At some point, that is going to turn around. When that is, though, at the moment, your guess is as good as mine. So the last time they finished outside the bottom 2 was back in 2019 when they finished 12th on the ladder with 10 wins, 12 losses. So even that year is quite poor. Certainly not a great year. Last time they had a positive win-loss record was 2018 when they went 12 and 10 and finished 9th on the ladder. So even that one, they didn't make finals even though they went positive. And you got to go a fair way back, all the way to 2016 for the last time they played finals, when they finished 8th on the ladder and went 12 and 10. So it's been a while, been a long time between drinks for the Kangaroos. It's not been a great period in their history. Of course, it's also, 25, 26 odd years, something like that, since they've made a grand final. So it's been a long period where they just haven't had much success. They made finals quite consistently there for a few years without really threatening a premiership. But at the moment, they're really struggling. So we'll jump into the depth chart for the Kangaroos now. So just a little explanation on how the colours and the ratings work. So I rated every single player last year by position. in the whole AFL. So that's what their 2024 position rank is. Obviously, players that didn't play many games last year will get a lower ranking. And then once I'd ranked them all, top 10% of every position is a blue, which is elite players. Everyone in the top 50% is green on this. Everyone that's yellow was in the bottom 50%. Orange is people that have played AFL football before, but did not play a game last year. And then anyone in red has not played AFL football previously. So, as we've done for all these teams, we're going to start at the key defender line. And to be honest, they're not that bad in the key defender lineup. Charlie Coburn, I think, has shown quite a decent amount of potential. He ranked 31 as a key defender last year. I think we'll see that increase. Potentially top 15-ish, maybe, at his best for 2025. Aidan Core was 34, once again, pretty solid. Cullen Dawson just outside in 46. Griffin Logie, 66. And Will Dawson, 71. Yet to make a debut is Matt Whitlock. I think the Charlie Coburn and Aidan Core duo is a good start. I think if you can see a little bit more improvement out of both of them, it'll get this back line into a really solid spot. Add in either probably Dawson, the most likely to be that third tall in that defence line for them. But Logie could be as well a potential one that could improve. General defenders, this is an interesting area of their ground because I've got these players listed as general defenders because that's where they played last year, but it's going to be quite a lot different once this season kicks off. So Harry Sheasel, first of all, he was rated as elite general defender because he did play enough time as a defender last year. He did move into the midfield at times, certainly in the second half of the season, but overall, he was rated as a general defender. We'll see him play a lot more midfield time this year. There's no doubt about it. He won't be rated as a general defender in 2025. He's going to be in that midfield group, which, once again, he's potentially going to rate as an elite midfielder. He's certainly going to be in that upper echelon of players. He's a good ball winner. He's a good ball user. He's also really good at delivering the ball into 50 and also finding that target. So someone that more likely could push forward as well when he's resting as a half-forward flanker. Not a bad option as well. So I think we'll see a really good year from him. Colby McKercher, he was ranked 47th last year. Variety of options for him. Once again, he could be that half-back flanker. He could be a winger. Or there's even potential that he could play midfield time. I just don't know if there's room for him at the moment in that midfield. Zach Fisher had a solid year without being anything outstanding. I did skip Luke McDonald accidentally, but he was also pretty solid. We didn't see a whole lot of great stuff from the rest of them. Darcy Tucker has potential. Archer, Hardman, Bergman and Gota haven't seen enough of from last year at least. And then Braden George hasn't played yet. As I said, though, Sheasel will be heading into that midfield. But that opens up the spot for probably Caleb Daniel. I think in all likelihood will go back. Spoiler alert, they have played their first match sim game. No, they didn't. It was a scrap intra-club game, that they played. Getting confused. And Caleb Daniel did play backline, and I think he got 30-something touches. So it's probably very likely that he is going to go back and be that half-back flanker again for the Kangaroos this year. So we'll see him swing back in his first year at the Kangaroos, which will replace that Sheasel role. Probably better at the Sheasel role than Sheasel. Sheasel more beneficial in other areas, though. I think we'll see a great season from him through the midfield. Jumping into the key forwards, Nick Larkey a couple years ago would have been elite. Last year was not his best season. It wasn't a bad year from him, but he probably went from a top 6 or so key forward down to 13th last year. So still pretty good without being outstanding last year. Jack Darling from West Coast, this will be his first his first season for the Kangaroos, sorry, adds another target for them. They severely lacked a good second option in that forward line as a tall. A lot of the time, like someone like Hugh Greenwood was playing as a tall forward, which just wasn't what Hugh Greenwood was. So I think he will benefit immensely from this, as will the Kangaroos. More of a lead-up forward, someone that will get the Ks up. He had a solid year last year. He was still in the top 50% of key forwards, so I think we'll see a slight improvement on that this year, I think, and probably ends up about the 30th, which isn't too bad for him. Toby Pink, Bryn Teakle, and Callum Coleman-Jones. I think we'll see a bit of some of them this year. I just don't know if any of them are long-term prospects as key forwards. I haven't seen enough from them yet to be convinced that that's what we'll see. General forwards for the Kangaroos. This is another interesting field position for them. Obviously, Zerha had a really good year last year. He was ranked 31. Luke Parker's come across from Sydney, and he's going to absolutely love playing here in Kangaroos, I reckon. He'll be getting plenty of midfield time as well as resting in the half-forward line. He'll mainly play midfield, I would imagine. But he showed last year when he does go forward, he can kick goals. He got quite a few, certainly in the back bit of the season last year. So look for him to have another big season. And it certainly improved that ranking from last year. Paul Curtis is solid without being anything super great that we've seen yet, but I think we'll see him improve again this year. Caleb Daniel, as I said, will probably swing towards the back line this year. Eddie Ford, didn't see a lot of great stuff from him. Zane Dersma will only improve from what we've seen. Robert Hansen Jr. Didn't show much last year. Cooper Harvey obviously didn't play last year. And then the three players that haven't played, Constantine came across in the Luke Parker trade as a little bit of cream on the top. Don't know what we expect from him this year. He'll probably get some games, so look for him at some point. Payne and River Stevens. The midfield line, Luke Davies-Yanaki rated elite last year. And to be honest, if he tidies up his disposal a little bit, he could certainly be a top 10 midfielder, I think. It'll be interesting to see how he goes once Sheasel joins that midfield as well full-time. They've obviously got a bit of talent in that midfield line. Whether Sheasel becomes their number one, I don't know. Probably does. George Wardlaw, he's improving each year. He's looking like he's going to be a really good prospect for the Kangaroos over the next 3 to 5 years. Tom Powell, very similar. Probably not quite as good as Wardlaw, but certainly shows potential. Jai Simpkin, I think, will become certainly a lot more half-forward time this year than midfield. I think they've just got too many midfielders now. Luke Parker's above him as a midfielder, as is Sheasel, as is Luke Davies-Yanaki, George Wardlaw, Tom Powell. So I think Simpkin's going to be more half-forward flank and rotate through midfield as a backup midfielder, basically. That's how I see it. Having said that, he did play in the Indigenous All-Stars game on the weekend and absolutely touted up in the midfield. So he is very talented, so I wouldn't completely write him off from the midfield. Bailey Scott, Will Phillips and Dylan Stevens, all capable, all look like they are going to be good enough as footballers. But we'll wait and see, I guess, how that shapes up over the next 3 to 4 weeks as leading into the season. Finn O'Sullivan was their first pick from the draft last year. He will definitely get games this year. He looks pretty much ready to go. He's not going to be a massive ball winner. He'll mainly probably ply his trade on the half-forward line this year. I doubt we'll see too much midfield time from him, but so half-forward flank, I reckon, would be where they'd spend most of his time. Maybe a little bit of wing. I doubt he goes to the half-back line just because they're going to have that Caleb Daniel role this year that doesn't really need someone else. But obviously, injuries could change things quite dramatically, quite quickly. Moving into the ruck, there's only one name here that matters, and that's Tristan Xerri. He was ranked number 2 last year as ruckman. He's an absolute elite ruckman. He had a great season, and we will see him have another great season in 2025. I'm fairly confident of that, but they don't really have a backup for him, which is their concern, I think, on this list. Taylor Goad is obviously a ruckman, hasn't played. I don't think he's ready yet either. So we'll see how that plays out. But as long as Tristan Xerri stays on the park, that's not an issue that needs to be too worried about, really. So overall, not a terrible list. Not the most spectacular, but I mean they've got 3 elite players, which is not too shabby. And overall, they've got 17 in the top 50%, so 17 out of 22 starters basically are going to be, were good enough last year to be on most teams. Not terrible. The best teams in the league are at about 22, 20, 21, 22. The worst teams are down at 15, so they're not the lowest ranked in that regards. And a major reason for that is they've brought in Darling, Parker, Caleb Daniel. So there's 3 people they've brought in from that weren't at the club last year that rated in the top half of their positions last year. And in all honesty, at least 2 of them you would expect would definitely improve on what they did last year in Luke Parker and Caleb Daniel. I think most people are expecting them to improve quite a bit. Jack Darling also probably improves in all honesty, but not quite as much as the other 2, I don't think. So there's certainly some positive signs in this Kangaroos list heading into 2025. We'll now look at their best 22. This was done about a month ago, so things may have changed a little bit, but this is how I did it. So fullback line, Luke McDonald, Charlie Coburn at fullback, and Zach Fisher. Half-back line of Caleb Daniel, Aidan Core, and Colby McKercher. It'll be interesting to see if McKercher does stay in that role. Midfield line, Will Phillips, Luke Davies-Yanaki, and Bailey Scott. Half-forward line, as I said, Jai Simpkin. I have playing half-forward this year. Jack Darling and Cameron Zerha. Full forward line is Eddie Ford and Nick Larkey with Paul Curtis, which isn't too bad of a forward line overall. Their centre line, Tristan Xerri, Harry Sheasel, and George Wardlaw, which is huge, really good starting centre line, I think. Basically, mostly young, pretty good players. So I think we'll see this as a potential midfield line for quite a few years to come for them, as long as they can keep all their players. Interchange, Finn O'Sullivan, their first year player. He was picked number 2 in the draft last year. Luke Parker, Darcy Tucker, and Tom Powell. It's a really strong midfield half-forward line bench as well. So they've got plenty of options there. Emergencies also came. Zane Dursma wasn't great last year, but I think we see improvement. Brendan Teakle, Dylan Stevens, Griffin Logue, Dylan Stevens, and I've put Dylan Stevens twice. That's a typo of some description. I don't know how I've done that, but just ignore that one, I guess. And Toby Pink. So overall, a pretty good list, a pretty good lineup. Like, that's not the worst lineup, I don't think. I think it's a team that is capable of getting certainly more than 3 wins. How many more than 3? We'll see. There's talk that less than 7's a fail. I'm not going to go that far, but I think they need to win at least 5 in 2025. With this list, I think they need to win at least 5. That's my thoughts. Having a look at their schedule for 2025. Their first game of the season will be in round 1 against the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. And what a way to start their season. In all honesty, it's not the toughest task. Bulldogs played finals last year, so, I mean, it's not easy. But Bulldogs are suffering some injuries in this pre-season. Going to be missing a few players. First game of the year, you could surprise a few here with a little surprise victory over the Dogs. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying it's not out of the realms of possibility. Playing in round 1 means that their bye, the first one is in opening round, and their second bye will be in round 12. Gather round, they'll be playing Gold Coast at Barossa Park. That's round 5. Once again, that's gettable. That is gettable. Gold Coast did not travel well last year. While most people probably expect Gold Coast to go on the road a lot better in 2025 than they did last year in 2024, you still got to think it's an opportunity. It is an opportunity in my eyes at the moment. Things could change. Gold Coast could be 4-0 going into that game, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe not. But at the moment, it's not out of the realms of possibility, I don't think. Teams that they play twice in 2025. So they've got Adelaide, Carlton, Melbourne, Richmond, Sydney, and the Doggies. So from that, Sydney obviously played in a grand final last year. Bulldogs did play finals last year, as did Carlton, but both of them only just kind of got in finals, 6th and 8th respectively. So 3 teams played finals, and then Melbourne were a fair way off finals, as were Adelaide, and then Richmond were obviously wooden spooners. So they get them twice, which should be a guaranteed 2 wins for them there. You'd want to split the ones with Adelaide, depending on how much Adelaide have improved. Same with almost the Bulldogs and Melbourne, depending what they're like. If you can split those 3 teams as well as your 2 wins against Richmond, there's 5 wins right there. So, I mean, it's not that simple, let's be honest. But 5+ wins is certainly easily gettable, I think. Make sure that you jump down into the comments below and let me know where you see North Melbourne finishing 2025. Do they improve? Do they finally get off the bottom 2 for the first time since pre-COVID, which is crazy? Jump in the comments and let me know. I see them improving. I don't know if they get out of the bottom 3, but I would like to think that they get 6 or 7 wins at least this year. It's not going to be an easy year for them, but that's what I think. Make sure you've liked the video. Make sure you comment. Make sure you're subscribed, as I said earlier. We're pumping out these season previews pretty much every day. Tomorrow is going to be Port Adelaide, so tune back for that one. There's already like 10 already on the channel, so go check all of them out as well. Podcast goes live once a week. As of next week, it's going live twice a week, so check out all those episodes as well. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.